Okay, I think we're gonna start getting everybody in, and after that we can make a start. Welcome everybody to the webinar. I think we will have an interesting time together. I'm just giving a chance to a few people to join. I know there are already 20 of us in the room. So we have Afonso, Jacinto, everybody's here. Let me obviously stop the music for now, and we could make a start shortly. Okay, just gonna stop the music now, guys, and we can make a start. Can you all hear me? I think you can all hear me, right? So yes, I believe you could all hear me. So welcome, guys, to webinar. So pleasure to see. I can see a thumbs up. Excellent. So what I'm gonna say. So everybody here. So feel free to introduce yourself into the chat, telling us where you're joining from and what company you're representing. And then if you have your LinkedIn, feel free to share your LinkedIn, and we will obviously do the same in here. So we're gonna have a very interesting conversation, guys, that I promise you, because I have top speakers that you've seen already on the flyer, and I'm just gonna allow them to say a couple of words. So maybe Jacinto, Afonso, if you wanna first of all have a very quick hello, and then we could make a start. Yeah.
Yeah. Just hi everyone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Excellent.
Good. Hi everyone. Thank you all for joining. Let's have a good conversation and good discussion today. And let's gain some more knowledge and some expertise from each other.
Excellent. Now, Jacinto, from your side.
Great for everyone. Actually, consider that we have different time zones, but I can say good afternoon. I think that will be a good journey, and I think that will be nice that we share knowledge and we learn each other in this process.
Excellent, and welcome back, and hello everybody to everybody in the room. I know a lot of you are, let's say, familiar to renewables in Africa or webinars, seminars, all of that. So thank you for coming back. Oh, somebody was saying part of the song that was in French. So you can all hear me, right? Hopefully that's okay, right? Yes. So just say thumbs up if yeah. I know most of you can't speak, but obviously you can chat. I give you the chance to speak when we come to the Q&A part. That's for sure. Yeah. So okay. So as I say, so today is going to be a very interesting conversation because most of the time when we're talking about renewable, we're talking about those two main technologies. We're talking about wind on one side and solar on the other. And the great thing about today is we have specialty of both, yeah, coming together and actually discussing, because there is a complementarity actually between the two technologies. So there are times, sun is out but there's no wind, and the opposite is also true. So sun is not out but the wind is there. So how can we marry the two of them? And also at times as well, we have projects that actually marry the two, and you want to look at, but they don't have necessarily the same approach. There are some similarities, but not necessarily the same approach. So how can we handle the complementarity between those two? So this is one of the things that I wanna explore here with you, right? And thank you very much for joining. So as I say, keep on introducing yourself into the room. Tell us where you're joining from. So who you are, obviously your LinkedIn, what company you work for, and one thing that I also will urge people to do, please, is to make sure that you contribute to the conversation. Yes, I want you to contribute to the conversation because you're giving us an hour of your time, and I want to make sure that you get what you what you came here to look for. But before we actually jump into the conversation per se, so I want to run a very quick and short poll survey, yeah, so that I want to gauge your opinion on the topic today, because what we're talking about here is how do we actually handle risk, in between those two technologies. So, and by the way, you have my colleague Brian who's in the room here. So Brian will be sharing at times as here some links which I want you to take part of. So let me just first of all run the poll survey very quick, just two quick questions that I want to launch right now. And I will really appreciate if all of you can actually take part of it, if you don't mind, guys. That'd be good. Yeah. So yeah. So I think you can now see the poll. If not, let me know. But if you can, what I would like for you is for you to contribute. Just respond to the question, giving us your impression, what you think about that. I could see already 4 people have responded. Yeah. So out of 5 out of 34, come on, guys, we need more than that. Yeah. So I'm sure we can do better. Yeah. So 10, excellent. We now start talking. Yeah. So this is very good. This is very cool. And yep. Excellent. That's what we see. I'm just gonna run it for another 30, 40 seconds or so, and then after that we can stop it, and after that we can look at the result all to ourselves. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So, and also the good thing is here, both for Alfonso but also Jacinto, is gonna give them a chance to see where we stand in terms of the yeah, in terms of the topic. So where is the public standing? Yeah, and they will they will be it will be useful for them to adjust their message as part of what they were planning to say anyway, right? So that's why I would like you to contribute. Yeah. So excellent. Okay. So we come to the 20 second, then we stop. Yeah, I said 24 out of 34, 70%, 73, 25 people. So another 10 second, guys, and after that we will stop and I show you the result and we can both comment on it. No? Okay, 5 seconds. So let me now stop the poll. Okay, 2 minutes. That's it. So we have 26 participation out of 34. That's what I could see here. Okay, that's fine. 76% attendance, participation. That's fine. So the first question says, what do you perceive as the biggest risk in managing wind solar hybrid site? And it's interesting, right? It's interesting. So, by the way, Brian, if you don't mind to let people in, so while we carry on, so thanks for that. I know Jacinto and Alfonso have been helping as well. So, here is what the question is telling us. It says that what do you perceive the biggest risk in managing wind solar hybrid sites? So, it's quite okay. Financing uncertainties, that's clearly the highest risk people have identified here. We have 35%, so 9 people out of 26. Then you have environmental, regulatory, technical failure. Interesting because I think I very much will see whether Afonso and Jacinto actually think the same. But it's good to see already your impression there. So yeah, apart from, it's actually quite close, I would say. Yeah, I was expecting something much more, I would say, defined, but it's actually close. But clearly, financing uncertainties is definitely the biggest here. Excellent. So now the second question is saying, how does your organization currently manage risk in renewable energy projects? Very, very interesting question. And what we say here, we use advanced analytics and risk assessment tool. So that would be very good to know which tool you're using. Maybe you can already drop that into the chat, guys, so that I can see already what kind of tool you are using for that. So we do rely on insurance and hedging. Okay, we focus extensive training in operational protocols. Yes, and we do not have a formal risk management strategy. So, guys, I mean, you are on the right webinar. Yeah. So, first of all, so Jacinto, Alfonso, so what do you think about those responses? Is that what you were expecting, or more or less what you were expecting, or is it a little bit of a surprise? What would you say?
From my perspective, it goes into what I my own opinion also. It goes into my own opinion and my own experience also. So it goes in line with the reality.
Okay, so there is no big surprise here for you.
No.
Yeah, also agree with him. Actually, is what I was expecting, and it's good if we are in the same page or have the
Okay,
same picture.
okay. So that means the audience has not surprised you at all. So you, so that means we talking, you talking to the right people, and obviously they've given you the responses that you were expecting. So more or less, as you say, this is what we wanted to see. Excellent. So let's carry the conversation. Let me just have I shared the result, by the way, or not? Because it looks like I wasn't sharing. Yeah, let me just share. If I wasn't sharing the response, did you see the result, Jacinto? I'm not sure I was showing. Now I'm showing. Say okay. If you didn't see that, so that's what I was showing here for the first response. Yeah. And for the first question, and for the second question, that's what I was also showing. So apologies if I didn't show that, because I was under the impression that uh you guys were seeing that. Okay, let me now stop sharing that now. Excellent. And not put that away. Excellent, brilliant. So as I say, now we've gone through the presentation, the poll survey. So we got an understanding of what is the main concern for people when it comes to deploying those renewables energy in terms of the risk, especially when we have those two, wind and solar. So we talked about finance, we talked about technical failure, regulatory, environmental. Clearly, those are concerns people would have. And apart from finance, the other was more or less in the same bracket. And we also asked a question, so what is that you do, when you have those risks? Because those risks exist. It's impossible to develop a project, to build a project and say there's no risk at all. Yeah, but what does that you do? So we had about 35 people, about a third of the people that say we are using risk assessment tool. That's good. And like I say, I like to know, I'm hoping I'm going to get some response from the audience, some responses on that. So what is that they do, right? And another third, or slightly more than third, would say they have no formal risk management strategies. So guys, you open yourself to big issues, big problem. So you should have some level of, let's say, strategies that you put in place, because impossible, as I say, to develop a project without having risk, right? Risk are there. It's part of the deployment, part of the development. So you need to have a way to handle that. So other people will say that they push it to somebody else, to hedge it, insurance, and others, obviously, what they do is to better train their people. So that's what we will see here. So what I'd like to now move on, it's to, as I say, I brought to you two experts here. So Afonso, but also Jacinto. I'm just want to go and start a little bit with Afonso. So Afonso, I think what I'd like to do, first of all, if that's okay, it's to have a better understanding of you as a person, so at the company, and I know as well you've prepared some very nice presentation, quick presentation for us, where you want to give us your perspective on how you've been tackling those renewable energy projects. Lots of it has been obviously turned towards the wind, but you also have some exposure on the solar, and I wanted you to maybe share that with us. So, is it possible maybe to take the floor? But first of all, like, as they have a better introduction about yourself, please.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen first, just a minute or two for the people that don't know me. My name is Afonso Faria. Of course, we've been here. This is now the third time I believe we are on this webinar with you, Tony, and it's been a wonderful journey, and it's been very insightful also. So that is really good. We thank you for that. So Afonso Faria, CEO, owner of AFF Wind Services. We operate with the wind renewable industry in Europe. Um, we have, well, me and myself and my team, we have decades of experience. We've started from the service, from the installation, from being out there doing the work itself, and now we are doing management and
Afonso, we lost you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back on.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just my AirPods got connected to my phone all of a sudden.
Okay.
So that's technology nowadays. So CEO of AFF Wind Services, we work with wind renewables mainly in Europe, Northern Europe mainly, even though we are a Portuguese company and most of us is Portuguese. What we are seeing and what we have seen over the last years is the need for a hands-on expertise and a hands-on approach, a more practical approach, and that is also what we bring to the table. So the company itself, it exists since 2016. Most of us are active in the wind, in the renewable since 2006. So from when it actually started to really grow within Europe, at least when it started to really grow, that's when we also jumped on board. We are here to, well, the whole purpose of the whole webinars is to share information, and that is also the way that we approach that myself, that I am. It's not about holding information to ourselves and trying to control and be the only ones that have that knowledge. It's sharing. We believe that sharing is the way to go. I believe that the more you share and the more you mingle with other industries, with other renewable industries, and with other experts like Jacinto, the more knowledge we gain and the more knowledge we give. It's a give and take. So that is what we do. Regarding the company itself, I'll share a little bit, just a small example, and it goes a little bit to the poll that was just that you were answering on. So risk management or risk analysis, we do that on a daily basis. It's part of our lives, risk assessments and risk analysis, and having the correct tools. And the financial impact on projects is also a risk. So quite often, or there is a tendency to look into risk management towards person safety, which needs to be number one. But there is also a number two, which is the budget control and the budget risk. And we see that here I've put together a very small example of a process within the wind industry, within the installation wind industry, that there is a certain task that needs to be done on the towers before they are installed in Finland. This is a specific case for Finland, where we need to install some lights outside the tower. And to do this job, cabling work needs to be done. People need to be inside the towers working. It's not really safe. So even though it's an operational task that is not really standard, we need to look into it. Is it safe to do? Is it safe to perform with the tools that we have, the means that we have? And it's not always safe to do so. So we need to find an alternative. And often the alternative is the easiest alternative is to come in with a specialized team that can do work on rope access work, which is people hanging on ropes, accessing those areas, routing cables, doing all the finishing works. This is a really good strategy to get this job done, but it's a very highly cost and highly time consuming way of doing it. So then we go into a different risk assessment. We've taken away, we've looked into the risk assessment of making people safe, taking the risk away from people, from the people that's doing the task, but now we're putting the risk on the budget. And maybe we can merge that. So that is the way that we manage. That is the way that we look into things. We look into everything. And we found alternatives. So we found an alternative to do the work in a safe way still. And that needs to be worked on. So we gathered the team together, all the health and safety advisors, all the supervisors with the technical knowledge, all the people that is going to do the work for their input, sit together, brainstorm, review, analyze, implement it, and improve. And what can we improve with this? Just by doing that, taking that step and looking a little bit further, if we look at the costs for this specific task, if we come in with a specialized team, then we're talking about almost 2,000 euros extra on a budget per turbine. Again, the risk of people injuries needs to be removed. That is the first risk that we need to look into. Budget comes after. There is no budget that is more important than person's health and safety. But we can do it safe. We can implement a safe way of working. So when we make a poll and we do look at the main risks, when everyone more or less answered that the main risks is the financial uncertainties and the technical failures, that is very much true. And then the managing risks, when we look into, sometimes we don't have we don't have a good risk assessment strategy, sometimes it's because we don't look into it. Sometimes, and that is what we see in the field, that is what we see in the industry. Sometimes we don't look further. We satisfy with the solutions that we find at that moment, and we don't go further. We don't go further into seeing if we can make it better for people to work, if we can make it more budget conscious, and if we can make it better. So, and that is the way we work. That is the way that myself and my team works. We don't just monitor projects. We analyze, review, implement, and we improve together with the team. So that's a little bit the short example of AFF.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Appreciate it, Afonso. Let me just ask you a very quick question on back of that. Yeah. So, can you maybe tell us a little bit more on the detailed risk analysis and proactive site management in mitigating unexpected operational challenges at wind energy sites, for example? I mean, the unexpected, it's what if you can maybe give us a little bit more information about that part, because a lot of it, obviously, this is for risk that we will see coming, we foresee. But when something that wasn't planned arrives, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, the first thing that, and we deal with that. I wouldn't say often, but we deal with that on a regular basis, because we have a lot of parameters that we cannot control when we're doing a wind farm installation or a wind turbine installation. The way we deal with that, and the first thing that we need to do, and that is what I advocate to, is that the first thing we need to do is we need to first stop. We need to first stop and think about what is it that we are facing, what is it that we are looking at. As I say sometimes in a joke, but it's not a joke, but I say sometimes in a joke, if a turbine falls over, and the guys that work with me, they've heard that before. If a turbine falls over, don't start running around. Just make sure you know which side it has fallen to, and then you start to make your risk. Then you start to make your risk analysis. So we have that quite often. What we often see is that we don't have the proper set of tools, and that is, by the way, something that AFF is working on having that correct guideline, that tool that can guide you. You put in certain parameters, and it will give you that. We are working on that. We are developing that tool. That you put in some parameters, some issues that have arisen, whatever you have around it, and the tool will give you more or less a guideline on how to guide yourself to, on what to do. Because what happens often is we panic. We are humans. We panic. If we don't know what we are looking at, we panic, and then we do either two things. We either do focus only on that part that we know, or we run away. Either one is not good, because we need to look at the whole picture. So when it comes to something that comes out of the ordinary, the risk analysis really needs to go through sitting down, analyzing, making sure that no one is hurt. If someone is hurt, you need to take care of him first. Making sure no one is hurt, making sure that we look into the procedure. Okay, is it something that really needs to improve? Is it something that was just poorly executed? Or is it something that, it's always human, any accident, and anyone that believes different, any accident that happens has a human interference into it. If it's a machine that breaks down, most likely it's because maintenance was not done. If it's a road that collapses, most likely it's because the road was not built correctly. Sometimes it's the rain, sometimes it's something else, but most of the times it's human interface. So we need to look into all of that, and we need to take as a team, and we need to also filter the noise, because a lot of times we see noise. People, like I said, some are fleeing, some are focusing only on what they see, and that is very important. You build as a team. Whatever project you do as a team, you take the main characters, the main responsible roles, and you sit down and you look at, what do I have? What risks do I have? A risk assessment is always the risk and a mitigation and an evaluation. So you know what your risk you have, you state what risks you have, or you talk about what risks you have at that point. Sometimes we deal with things that, for example, roads. We deal with roads quite often, especially in the northern Europe. When we go from winter to to spring and to summer, the roads, they just wash away because they've been built during the winter with snow and the ice, and they melt and they just wash away. So we deal with that quite often. And then it's you need to take a decision, quick decision. But before you take a decision, you look at, do I still have a road? Do I still have enough space to drive? Is it safe enough? You do that together with as a team. You evaluate the risks, and every evaluation you need to state what your mitigation is going to be. Your mitigation needs to sound, and it might sound strange, but whatever mitigation you put, it needs to be so that if someone doesn't understand the industry, if they read it, they know what the mitigation is going to do. Because sometimes we write stuff down and we talk about stuff in an experienced way that it makes sense to us, but it doesn't make sense to anyone else. So
yeah. Quick question for you here. So it absolutely makes sense for me, and I'm sure it does for everybody else. By the way, so as I'm talking to asking questions to Alfonso here, I'm going to give you the chance as well, people in the public, to also ask your question to him directly. I think see some of you are courageous enough, so I'm going to allow you to unmute and ask a question to Alfonso, but also Jacinto in a minute. So please make sure that you have your question there. But when we come to that point, guys, just go straight to the point so that I can collect as many information as possible, right? So that's what would like to do. And I know as well some people watching me on YouTube, but also LinkedIn. So we on Zoom in here. But please, if you have a question as well, drop it in the comment box. My team will relay that to me, and I could obviously get the speaker to address that. I was gonna say, Alfonso, because I know you work with, let's say, very diverse team, right? So multiple backgrounds, multiple cultures, all of that. So how do you make sure that people actually speak for the same hymn sheet, right? So how do you make sure that they align and they participate in that continuous improvement cycle that you guys are implementing? And another part of it is, so do you see it just specifically applying to winds or equally as well to solar?
no, I see it to solar as well, and it's actually it's a very good question, and it's very complicated actually, because everyone has their own personality. We can have the same background, we can have the same experience, more or less, but everyone has their own personality. So everyone is going to look at things, and we have to remember, guys, reality is a perspective of what you are seeing and what you are hearing, and depending on who's listening and who's hearing, who's seeing, it's always a perspective. So personalities that play a big role here. The way that I do it and the way that AFF is outstanding in the way that we are managing and we are leading and organized is organization. So if you come to my office, if I show you around all the projects that I'm running, you'll see one thing. Every single project has the same strategy. Every single project has the same organization, the same daily topics that need to be done with the same documents. Every single manager has more or less the same way of approaching of explaining it and exposing issues of following up with topics. Risks, we always follow the same budget analysis. We follow the same strategy. We follow the same, more or less the same system that we are working. And then you might say, but if you do that, then you are taking away the individual. You are not, but you are making sure that everyone is following and everyone follows the same guidelines, and everyone not only follows but gives in their input so that you grow as a team. You cannot grow as a team if everyone has their own way of working. You can only grow as a team. It's like football, right? We just seen the world, the European Cup. It's like football. Everyone is their own player. They have their own position, but they're all working together as a team. They all have the same strategy, and that is also what I do with AFF. It's the same organization, the same strategy, the same way of operating, the same way of showing, the same way of going one project to the next project. This creates it gets into your subconscious mind. It becomes automatic. The more you do the same way, it becomes automatic. And then, of course, your own personality, your own way of talking, your own way of dealing makes it that the individual grow further because it takes more experience from the others also. Apart from that, of course, as a team, we have regular weekly meetings together where we go through every single process, every single client tools that we have. We analyze that, we study that together, and we improve it together also.
Okay, excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that. So let me just come to Jacinto as well. So Jacinto, so I think you've been waiting patiently here. So thank you for that. I'm very grateful. As I was saying to Alfonso early on, I was so excited to have you join our webinar because if you don't know Jacinto yet, he's about to introduce himself. But Jacinto, for him, obviously we know each other for a few years now, and I really regard him as one of the, let's say, current and future leader of the continent. So Jacinto joins us from Mozambique, and with a very extensive. Jacinto, I definitely need you to explain to people what your background is, and then and after that, I'll have a question for you.
Thank you so much, Ton. It's really amazing the fact that we are digging and we know each other in this market. And it's important that more than doing business, we create this family or this relationship that stands forever. And I think that's very valuable and so important. Actually, my name is Jacinto Toy. I'm from Mozambique. I'm a project developer. I was a former consultant at Deloitte. Deloitte is one of the big fours. Now I'm a project developer at hydropower. I develop projects, solar, wind, gas project, hydro project. One of our biggest project that we are developing is Matambo project, which we signed 1.5 million USD with Amea Power, which is one of the company of Dubai. So also we are developing other kind of project, for example, as I said, of a hydro project, which is 400 megawatts, 600 megawatts. We're developing some different type of technology, not only in renewable, but in gas project, as we're developing 100 megawatt of gas. As you know, we have a lot of gas, and something that maybe we can discuss in the future stage. So this is my background in high level. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Jacinto. So as I say, so your background speaks for itself. And again, thank you for taking the time to join us because I know you are extremely, extremely busy. And I have a quick question for you, and I'm sure people in the room as well would have questions. Guys, I'm gonna start taking questions just after that. Please be ready. So, what would you say are the risk when you're developing hybrid power plant in Africa? We talked about solar and wind because hybrid obviously means two technologies, right? They could be solar plus biomass for geothermal, but in this case, let's focus on solar plus wind. So, what kind of risk do you see? Because I know with also the background that you have, you touch on many technologies, but when it comes to solar and winds, what kind of risk would you say you identify in the development?
Thank you so much, Tony. One of the first things that I will say, this concept about how can I say, hybrid project in Africa is not new, but the real implementation, the real operation is something that we see in few countries. So first, when we are developing this kinds of project, is about how the stakeholders have the understanding or how to conduct these kinds of business, because we might be in a situation, for example, in the regulatory perspective, we don't have a firm type of framework that conduct the business. We might have different stakeholders. For example, you might have the regulator, you can have the power utility, and other other stakeholders with different perspectives. So the question is how to mitigate risks, how to allocate risk, how to allocate responsibilities, how we deal with that. And we have another situation, which is the experience of the local developer. We see that we've been in a situation where even solar alone or wind alone local developer in this case, they faced a lot of challenge. The question is how they handle the fact that they need to now combine two projects in the same page. So this is also not only in this perspective. We are talking about discussing about the tariff, discussion about the commercial and operation agreements, discussion about power purchase agreement. How the developer, for example, for my case, we have the deep visibility of the risk that we might have during this process, and how the regulator will have the good understanding of how to protect the stakeholder that are developing this project. So this is some of the understanding that I think that's good to reflect when we are talking about Africa. As I said, we have more projects like this in the desk, and more than that, how to analyze the fact of we have how can I say getting in the technology aspect, how to analyze the fact that we have a power infrastructure, because when we are combining these two kinds of technology, we want to capitalize, we want to increase the LCO, or the leverage cost of energy. But the question is how we deal with the infrastructure, because we've been in a situation that it's good to, for example, develop 200 megawatts, but when you get there, you want to, the off-taker will say, okay, I can only take 100 megawatts. And you will be in a situation that you reduce your LCOE because of that regulator limit. And more than that, you sometimes be in a situation that there is a poor infrastructure. I'm talking about substation, network. The question is how you don't only think about combining wind and solar, but now you start thinking about combine also battery for some kind of circumstance that you need. So this is some concept, some situation that we might see in Africa when we are trying to developing a project, hybrid project. Yep. So this is my visibility.
I think excellent point here. But now that you've essentially raised important question, key question that come into consideration when we're looking at those projects that we're looking to develop, from your experience in hydropower, which is the company you're part of, what are some of the effective strategies for engaging local communities in the planning stage of those wind solar hybrid projects?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One of the important things is to have full visibility of the risks before you're digging to the project, because one of the things that we might see, the developers, they don't have that visibility of the risk. They're starting facing the risk during the project. So, for example, one of the aspects that I will say, just to comment, the timeline to develop wind and solar is different in terms of studies. For example, wind, you need a lot of time just to measure the wind, only the wind. So imagine in a situation that you don't have this visibility, you'll have problem in the timing that you had to develop the project. So first of the thing is to have this big picture. You make this assessment of the main risk that you can dig with them. Going to that, another situation is to have also good visibility. For example, we've been in a situation that before the construction, you need to select the EPC that will build substation. You have different EPCs there. Normally, you can have different EPCs with different background, different technology provider. So the question is, how can you deal with that? Because if you don't see that before, maybe you'll be in a situation that your commercial and operating date will not be, you will not achieve the date that you already see. So this is a situation that you need to analyze before. And more than that, when you get to operation stage, the main question is which kinds of tools or technologies that will help you to deal with, for example, supply and demand situation. So you need to start thinking on this. And this is another thing that it's very important. And talking about the risk, we have a situation that, for example, for our community, most actually in Africa, the community aspect and social aspect, it's very deep. So it's important to manage well the expectation of the community when you are doing that business in the early stage. Also in identifying the sites, it's important to have all of this visibility when you are developing the project, and also have analysis of the main key performance indicators that you need to get in the project, because we have been seeing a lot of projects that they don't close, they don't get to financial close because of that things. With all the starts there, people they put it money to do business, and when you wanna get in the last stage, the things they don't close. So I think that will be one of the key aspects that's important, but also advocacy among the different stakeholders, because we see that different stakeholders, they operate separately. You can go to the regulator today, you have this perspective. You go to the power utility, you have another perspective. It's something that impacts the development of the project. So it's good when all of that can be aligned in the early stage. So this is the high level perspective that I can give.
Thank you very much. Jacinto, I just have a quick follow-up question for you before I open up the floor to questions. By the way, I could see that there's already some conversation going, people asking questions to Alfonso. Great. Guys, I'm going to give you the chance to ask your question. Please, I'm hoping that some of you are, let's say, courageous enough to take in ask a question, because I like the conversation I'm having here. So, Jacinto, sometimes people have been complaining that people coming from the consulting world lack some level of practicality when it comes to actually developing project on the ground. So they always have theoretical advice. So you've been working previously from Deloitte. Would you say this is actually a fair criticism? So, or how have you managed the transition moving from a world where you were consulting, where to one where you actually properly engaging and active into the project?
Okay, so you are saying that one part there is a lot of is theoretical and other part is more practical. This is the question, right?
Yes, because I think sometimes this
Yeah.
is the criticism that we could lay to, let's say, some consultant. That's what I've heard. But like I say, you've made that transition, and I'm sure there's maybe a lot of people in the room thinking of going along in this direction. Obviously, having you here representing that is good to get some advice as well.
Okay. Actually, for my scenario was different because I had previous technical experience, but I know what you are saying, and I will answer you based on what I see. Actually, one of the first key aspects is to know your limits, in terms of theoretical aspect and practical aspect. And more on that, developing projects, you don't develop alone. Something that most of the consultant, in this case, the big fours, they teach when you do things. So you need to use also all of that knowledge that you gain there to make use of the capabilities that your colleague will have, that understanding, because most of the consultants, they only design strategies, this and that. But sometimes when you get into the field, there is a lot of unexpected situation that you need to deal with because you are in the field. So that's important for us to understand your limits. It's important also to use your potentialities because you really have it. And developing projects, I think that is the point. But you need to understand your limits, because a lot of situations you've been in it, you will have consultants that they don't understand their limits, and they facing different situations. They want to apply the same strategy, the same criteria, and the field is different, which is natural. And every day it's a learning process. But I also need to emphasize that developing phase, more than technical perspective, there is a lot of procedure perspective, understanding the procedure, how the procedures work, because if you can be in different industry, as a consultant, most of a consultant, they go through different industry in the same times, mostly the big fours. But when they shift to development project, there is a need to digging through all of the process of the project. So I think it's more about it. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for that. So I'm hoping that we have some question here. So let me find out right now. So I have Rashid and Brian in the chat here looking on our behalf. So Rashid, Brian, so any of you here, so feel free to unmute yourself. Do we have some questions? And if yes, I'd like to give the chance to the person to ask the questions, and so that we can have any of our speakers. But before you do that, actually, let me just say, I know that because I've seen a comment coming to me in private. So some people have enjoyed the two-slide presentation that Afonso has shared, talking about the way they handle risk within his company, AFF. And like I said, they have decades of experience, on all technologies, wind primarily, but also other technologies. So in case some of you would like to have a special one-on-one conversation with Afonso, please feel free to reach out. So Brian, if you can share that link, that second link for people that want to have a conversation, that's fine. So those conversations will most likely happen early next week. Please, I'm saying that because we've done it for previous webinars. People have taken the slot of other people and not show up. Please, if you really want to have a conversation, so I'm hoping that you mean it and we can organize it and be responsive. Otherwise, because I can't do a lot of them because Alfonso is very busy. I've asked him kindly to do so. I can't do a lot. So don't take the space of somebody else if you don't really intend to obviously follow up on that when I reach out to you to organize those meetings. Please, please, please. Let's say kindly asking you that. Think about how you would feel if you set up an appointment and take somebody's time. So somebody's very experienced and then you don't show up. Okay, so back into that. Is there any question, Brian or Rashid? Rashid, do we see any question in the room? Somebody has a question? I'm sure there is. There is, right? I've been seeing some conversation going.
Yes, Tony. There's been some conversations ongoing, which I think I've also had responded to. I think
Okay.
Anthony had a question, and
Okay.
Sansao.
Okay,
Sansao as well.
Anthony. Let me just unmute. Is that Anthony Bosun? Osibajo? Yeah. So Anthony,
Correct.
I'm just gonna ask you to unmute. Hopefully you've seen that. Anthony. Okay, excellent. Anthony, if you can just tell us where you're joining from, what's your question? Keep that short and succinct so that we can take as many questions as possible. And if you can play your camera, that'd be nice.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. So I'm
Brilliant.
joining from Nigeria,
Okay,
Niger Delta
excellent.
region.
Yeah. Oh,
So precisely, let me just say I'm joining from Warri in
okay.
Nigeria. So I represent an NGO where we are providing, we facilitate access to energy to coastal communities. And we've been utilizing solar technology for a couple of years, but we are looking into adding wind or hydro based on the integrated resources plan that we have done in the past. So my question to Alfonso is just, we're looking at 100-meter offshore wind solution. And I quickly went through the website for Alfonso. I saw they have a platform where you can be able to do more of wind management. So I just want to ask if they have site selection on such on their platform as well. So which could help us to be able to identify wind site, you understand, before we move down to implementation and other things. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you very much, Anthony. That's a great question. Alfonso?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. It is a great question. Unfortunately, the wind site studies and the whole development of choosing the correct area and the correct zone for the wind and the correct turbine and so on, that is not something that we do. That is a more intrigued study that needs to be done and a complex study that needs to be followed up. We can support and we can guide with whatever aspect needs to be looked into for the operational part once the wind farm has been chosen and once the area has been chosen and all those steps have been taken. But to choose the area itself, to make those wind studies yourselves, that's not something that we can do, fortunately.
Okay, that's clear, concise. But thank you, Anthony. Like I say, that's what I want. People asking question and making them short. So we most likely have another questions, right? And by the way, like I say, so as we jump into the question, if you want to have a one-on-one exclusive with Alfonso, let me know, and we can actually book you up. Click on the link and sign up, and we'll be in touch. So, do we have another questions, Rashid, that you see? You mentioned somebody else, isn't it?
Yes, I think Sansao. I don't know if he's still here.
Okay,
Sansao had also a question to
okay,
ask.
Sansao. So, how do you spell it? Okay, yeah, Sansao. Okay, you get it. I'm just gonna ask Sansao to unmute, and Sansao Fumbe. Yes.
Yes.
How are you, sir? Can you show your
Yes.
screen if it's possible? I like to see how you look.
No, unfortunately, my camera has a problem, but thank you very much for inviting me. I'm
No
Sansão
problem.
Pumbe from Mozambique. I
Okay.
used to work with Jacinto, he was my colleague in
Oh,
Deloitte. I was in
okay.
HR. So I decided to join, and it's a very wonderful meeting. And thank you for the invitation. So my
Welcome.
question was relating to risks, like how do you approach incidents or near miss incidents?
Mm.
Because Alfonso was talking about the wind. What can I say? The pole falling over and everything else. So how does he manage all of that? Yes,
Alfonso,
thank you.
Yeah.
great
So
question again.
that is sounds really. Thank you for that. That's a really good question. Um, the the approach to an incident and or to an accident is it's never easy. It is really never easy, but it needs to be done with a cold heart. And what I mean with that is it needs to be done with we need to approach it to what we see and what we have and what we need to deal with. We cannot, like I was saying earlier on, we cannot jump into panic mode or into any other modes that persons have. I can tell you, I can share a personal experience. It's a very unfortunate personal experience because we actually lost a life on a project. It was not an accident. It was an incident. It was heart failure. It was a heart attack. And the approach to that, when I got the call that there is someone that needs first aid, um, automatically you need to jump into the cold heart. What do you have at hands? What do you need to do? And what needs to happen? And you just take it from there, step by step. Of course, we are trained. It's not. Being trained doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to deal with every single situation, but that is how you do it. So you evaluate once again. You evaluate. In this particular situation, we had no phone signal. We were very remote in a very remote location. So the only thing that we could do was try to find an area where we had a phone signal, radios, a walkie-talkies to talk with the people that was actually intervening with the person, with the casualty, and then I myself was on the phone with the ambulance and with the helicopter. Um, and you maintain that flow of communication and that flow of processes. In this particular case, we went over to waiting for the helicopter and um, trying to get him back to life. We failed, unfortunately, but that is how you deal with that. I have had other incidents, accidents, also personal injuries, also, and it's the same strategy. And it's really, we need to deal with it in a very cold fashion. First of all, everything needs to be analyzed, everything needs to be registered so that you learn from it. And as I wrote to you earlier on, every single hazard observation, near miss, needs to be written down, stated, and analyzed during a project so that you can eliminate the incidents. But if you do have an incident, you need to deal with it in a very cold way. You cannot get your emotions get in the way. Because if you get your emotions in the way, you lose that automatic handling of things. I have had some injuries, some incidents, some accidents, and that is the way I've done. One particular case I have had to deal with, that was on a turbine years ago, and someone got his hand stuck and he started to faint and all of that. And there was two solutions: you jump out with the rescue equipment, or we take them out on the service lift that is also available in the wind turbines. You just choose which one is the best. But it is every single step you take, you need to realize that every decision you make at that point will have an impact later on. So you cannot let your emotions play that game. When we become emotional, we start to lose the big picture. But it's not. It's complicated. When it comes to risks where there is no personal injury, and that we are really accidents. When we're talking about accidents, and I have had that also, unfortunately. If you are long enough in these industries, it's a high risk industry. You cannot. When we are more than 10 years, then you see some things. You see some accidents. You see some incidents, and it's very unfortunate, but it's the way it is. It's improving a lot over the last 15 years. It's improving a lot. But I have had, for example, a crane that has fell over. And then you take that risk analysis. First thing is you contain the oil so that you don't. So the first thing you do is you contain the risk. So you contain that there is no oil, no diesel going into the land. You need to try to control that. And then you start to making the preparations for removing that equipment, removing that heavy crane. And of course, removing doesn't mean that you go into, like I said, if a turbine falls over, if no one is injured, it's material, it's a budget risk. But if you to remove it, you don't go jump in trying to be quick, trying to be the best one, not sinking into everything else. You need to analyze it. 2 weeks ago, we had a tower that fell over one of our projects. One of our managers, what he did was he analyzed everything that was there, talked with all the teams. Okay, what do we need? We need a crane to lift the tower. For having the crane, we need to have ground that is leveled and that is strong enough to put that crane. Step by step again, one risk at a time, one step at a time, making sure that you don't lose track of the big picture, but one step at a time, and never let your emotions play a game. And sometimes even when it's accident, sometimes the emotions play a game, because sometimes you get the pressure for budget, for timelines that cost money. Never let that play a game. Make sure that you follow every step. Every single step needs to be taken with a conscious mind and with a cold hearted, what are you looking at? Not with anything else.
Excellent. I think that's such a beautiful answer that can only be given by somebody who has, like I say, a track record, but also the experience. So that's what I'll say. So if you want to get that one-to-one, guys, click on that link. So that would be nice. The one thing as well that I wanted to say, guys, what we need as well. So by the way, Rashid, look for another question for me. What we're doing here, as you know, is all about raising awareness about renewables energy, in the continent of Africa, also across the world. That's what renewables in Africa, what we do. And we specialize in getting people like Afonso, like AFF, give them the visibility and also helping them to get in front of people like yourself. So I obviously we broadcasting that on LinkedIn, on YouTube. By the way, the YouTube, I want to make sure, guys. So all of you should subscribe on our YouTube channel because there's a lot of videos, a lot of insight that we're sharing with you here, and I think you benefit from that. Do we have another questions, if possible? I can see there's Madre del Port here, but is that the next question or yeah?
Correct, Tony. I think that's the next question.
Okay, let me just go to Madre del Port. So Madre, you are able to unmute. If you can just show your camera as well if possible, so that we would like to see and feel people. Madre,
Hi, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you yet. I can see you now. That's
Hi.
fine. I feel better.
Thank you very much for the
No problem.
webinar.
No problem.
My question is about risk assessment through the life cycle of the project. So, we are a project developer in South Africa, and we usually sell our projects to IPPs or other off-takers. So, how far do we go in assessing risks upfront if we are only responsible for the project up until commercial close, for example? So we don't appoint EPCs, we don't do construction, we don't do O&M. So where do we draw the line?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, by the way. I'm gonna have both Afonso and Jacinto to address that. So Jacinto, are you I think Jacinto. Yeah, Jacinto, do you wanna start maybe?
Yes, thank you so much, Don. Also, thank you so much for the question. Actually, the product development, we don't only analyze during the development phase, but our development phase has outcome through the life cycle of the project. So it's important to reflect on different type of project. That's why some developer, they used to have tools when they put different strategy of how to mitigate risk after financial close or after a certain stage that they have to give a deliverable. Because even the commission risk are important to the project, and there is some guarantees that they go after even the commission on situation. So it's important to have a type of tool where you put a different scenario, and when you put a different risk analysis that the entities or the compound or that will handle the project after you must be aware of them, because that will determine the successful of the project. So it's important when you have these on stage to put this on the table.
Yeah, and just to make sure that we got some because I think I also want to make sure that Madre also gets properly a response. I think Madre, you wanted to know as well more specifically where do we draw the line in terms of identifying the risk, right? Because when it's simply a project, basically, project manager, but you're not the actual developer. So you want to say, where is that? Where should we go? Where should we actually, according to you, Jacinto, have you had to deal with external consultant who obviously project manager helping you develop the project? And where would who has the responsibility to identify all the risk of the project? So where should these guys stop?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Actually, I think the first aspect is to be well determining the responsibilities among the the third party that is getting to a certain phase of the project. Which will be helpful. This is the responsibility of that or that third part. What we do actually is have this good visibility of the responsibility of risk allocation in the first stage in the contract. That's important. I think this is the basic, because it doesn't mean that any third party that is coming to do the development project or any phase of the project, it's responsible, for example, to assess some type of things that is not actually designed in the contract or is not in the scope. So it's important to have this clear before, so you know what is your responsibility and who have this responsibility among the project. I think this is the important aspect.
Yeah, I think that's a fair response. That's a fair response. So essentially, Madre, so what Jacinto is saying here is it's difficult to figure out exactly, but it's all about understanding where obviously your responsibility lies. So when it's properly defined, the visibility, then it can give you an idea as to where to stop. So Afonso, I might have you as well jump into that. So where do we draw the line? So when because I'm sure in your case as well, you're managing a whole site, and at times you got external companies coming and support one aspect. So, but risk is a risk. So where do you draw the line in terms of identifying risks, dealing with that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
We identify that line a little bit more, like Jacinto would say, with roles and responsibilities, but we do define that. There is a document that should follow every project, and it starts in the sales phase. Actually, it starts in the planning phase already, which is the health and safety file. The health and safety file is a document that covers and that registers and documents all the risks from your planning phase until your sales phase, into your execution, and later on into the operations and management phase. even if it's sold or even if the project goes from one customer to another customer. That file follows. That file is complemented. It starts. It's complemented with all the risks that happen. For example, if we are in the civil works phase, that file will be worked on and it will be transferred into the construction phase. It will be worked on until the very end, and then it will be closed off all the risks during construction, and the residual risk will be then sent over, registered in that health and safety file, and sent over to the next phase, which is often the operation and maintenance. The line in the wind, the line it's especially in more in the northern countries, it's very defined. When we go over for installation, when we take over the project for construction, we take that responsibility, and it's a legal, we're liable responsibility where we take over, we sign for that, and that comes, and that the same happens when the customer that is developing the project, when they go into a civils stage of the project. With civils, I mean all the roads, all the foundations, all the infrastructure. When they go into that phase, again, that civil company that is appointed as a main contractor, they take that risk. As soon as the project starts on that specific date, they sign and they take that risk. And they are also responsible to maintain that health and safety file. And then they give over to the next one, and so on and so on. So we do define we define that transition it's very clear, defined, contractually defined also on the dates of handing over, transferring the risk to the next one. And so it is there, but it's very important to keep the documentational part of it. The health and safety files need to be kept, and they need to be followed up, closed out with all the risks, and maintaining only what is left over for the next one. So I hope that helps, that answers your question, but that is how we define that.
Excellent. So Madre, is it clear for you? Or so I think I think we've if you have any follow-up, just let us know. You can raise your hand, and then we can pick up another question. Is there any other question, Rashid, that we see from the floor?
Not anymore, Tony. I think those are all the questions.
Okay. So, okay, excellent. It looks like we've pretty much satisfied everybody. I think I'm happy to see that. Excellent. And as I say, so if you rather ask your question in private for whatever reason you have, so as I say, let us know. I'm more than happy to organize this conversation with Alfonso, and then we could see how we can take that forward. I think, Alfonso, let me just ask another quick question before we start wrapping up. What kind of emerging trends would you say you were more excited about when we're talking about wind industry? Yeah, and how are you preparing within your company to adjust to that? Because the industry is progressing on a daily basis. So maybe you have something you want to share there.
Yeah, so the trend that we are seeing, and that is also what we are focusing on, is the merging of this industries, and this comes from someone that has only seen wind for the last years. But the merging, and Jacinto, we touched on that earlier on with the batteries also, and that is what we are seeing now. The emergency trend, or the emergent trend on the renewable, is really going into those hybrid solutions, getting the wind, the solar, and the batteries. That's the future, and that is also what keeps us, what we are excited about to see how that is going to develop over the next 5-10 years, and also to see how the industry is going to keep up with it. Yeah.
Excellent. That's fine. I think we're gonna take that as your word of conclusions. Alfonso, I appreciate that. So maybe Jacinto, you have one final quick word you wanna share, and after that, guys, so if you can stay on for another couple of minutes, because I just want to run a very quick exit survey, and in the end, just to get your feedback is important to us, because our whole idea is to make sure that we improve the quality of those webinars we bring to you, people that matter, people like Jacinto, people like Alfonso, and also talk about topics that are very important for the industry and see how we can put that into practice and get that to move forward. That's why, like I say, for me, bringing to you the expert but showing you how they have handled their project and how they can sort of share some knowledge with you. It's very important. And if you're one of these company, like you say, obviously, I have a lot of topic as well, knowledge I want to share. Just like Alfonso Jacinto are doing, just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about that and how we can help you there. But Jacinto, maybe any final word from your side that will be appreciated.
I want to only say thank you for the opportunity. It was very good topics. We deal in this topic, and more than that, I want to say that incentivize more investment or more solution for Africa, because we need not only in terms of generation, but also reflecting in terms of infrastructure to put our generation. So the keyword is let's develop projects in Africa. And thank you so much for the initiative. It's very nice when we discuss this. We have the good visibility, good understanding of the main situation that we can face or we can handle through in the development and through the life cycle of the project. So it was a pleasure to be here with you, and I learned a lot also with Alfonso. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So let me wrap very quickly the webinar, but I want to run the quick poll survey here. Let me see if it's available. If yes, exit survey. Yep, let me launch it now. So it's purely simple for us guys because we always looking to improve ourselves. Just three very quick questions. So what is your assessment of the content of the webinar? So the format, did you enjoy it, not enjoy it? And also your overall assessment of what we've been doing today. So I think there's still a good 30 plus people here. So I really would appreciate if everybody can participate, guide, and be honest. Just tell us what you think. So if you don't like it, tell us you don't like it. So feel free. By the way, Brian, so if that's okay, feel free to also drop my email address on the or Rashid in the chat. So anybody that want to reach out and talk to me in private, in person, because you want to have some topic you want to discuss, that'd be great. Subscribe to our social media platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We looking to cover as much as possible, isn't it? And to move forward. And I'm very excited, by the way, because tomorrow we're doing something very special. Because I don't know if you knew, but we're about to become a bank. I'm saying that joking, but partly simply because we have announced last year um, a collaboration with an organization called Lend for Good. And the whole idea behind it is to provide affordable capital to impact companies who are not startup anymore, but need capital to grow, right? And then we're doing that through a crowd lending platform, which is called Lend for Good. So we have officially become one of their intermediary partners. So that means that we are able to process those applications, and for the application that are good and strong, we can obviously list them into the platform, help them to raise our debt capital. And the very first that we're doing is actually tomorrow. So, and we're gonna have a live Q&A. So if some of you want to attend, participate, again, just send me a message, talk about the live Q&A, and I will invite you to that. So it's tomorrow at 12 p.m. So that's what I wanted to share because we're very excited. So I have 16 people out of 29 now that have participated. So yeah, thank you very much, 55%. So I think that's good enough. I'm just gonna take it. Yeah. So thank you for people who done that. Some people are still voting. So let me just give it maybe some a couple of seconds. But while we're wrapping up again, let me just in person thanking you for taking the time to always show up, always attending, and spreading the message. And that would be good. I could see as well that David Sean has sent a message on the chat. That's fine. So let me just share with you the result of the poll because I think nobody's voting anymore. So just for you to see here. So it looks like most of you have enjoyed. It's either good or very good. Yeah, we actually we're very close to what's so 55. Oh, okay, over 90%. So one person was saying average. The person that says average, please reach out to me because I'd like to know why is it average for you, so that we can understand how to make sure that we can change the next time. So what is the format? So again, people liked it. One person said not good, not a problem. Just tell us why do you think it wasn't good, and that would be appreciated. The overall assessment, yeah, I think we got a trend now, right? Somebody say average. That's okay. The person who's saying average, just reach out to us. So tell us how we can improve, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. Okay, guys, I think that's all I had to say for today. So again, once again, Alfonso, thank you very much for the time. Like I said, that's the third webinar that we've been doing with you. So every time it looks like we're getting more and more interesting topic. People are collaborating, and it's very exciting to see. Thank you for Jacinto for taking your time and coming and sharing your experience, your expertise. By your background from Deloitte to project developer, now obviously supporting hydropower and other companies developing project, and also congratulations on signing that MOU for the 100 megawatt solar that you are developing. The rest of you people that ask questions, courageous enough, guys, I can't tell you how grateful I am, because it's because you are participating that we are able to have something that is interesting for everybody. So I'm just going to leave you all in music. Hopefully, you've been able to learn a thing or two. If there's more question, like I say, you can jump in a one-on-one with Afonso if you really need that. But overall, like I say, that's great. Thank you very much. You're going to be having access to the recording very soon. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you, I would say, very soon, guys. So I'm just going to share my screen and leave you in music, and then we can call it a day. Okay? Excellent. Let me just get it done now. Okay. Okay.